Welcome back to Those Astrology Girls. I'm Nicole,
I'm Keelie.
and today's episode, we're talking all about Cancer season. This is the start of the summer season officially. The summer solstice is when the sun enters Cancer, and we're making this huge shift between Gemini season, the mental buzz, the social excitement, the busyness, to homeward bound Cancer season. This is a time to come home to yourself, bring everything a little bit more cozy and intimate, and let's just talk about what this season is going to bring. We'll talk to you about the transits that are coming up. We'll talk to you about the vibes. We'll give you some tips and tricks to work with this energy this season. And really, we're going to ground into like why this Cancer season is one of the bigger turning points of the astrology of the year. We've been talking about 2025 astrology nonstop. Obviously, this is Those Astrology Girls, but Cancer season is one of those pinnacle moments where we're seeing a lot of the changes come to a halt, and now we're just going to start living this news story. How are you feeling about it?
I'm feeling good. I'm thinking about Cancer season and it really being the start of summertime. And when you think about summer, especially in grade school, it's a time where it's like school's out, like you're spending more time at home. Maybe you're going on vacations with your family and you're really just like nurturing yourself after this like long school year or, whatever. It's just like it's a time for you to really just like celebrate and kind of come home to yourself. And that really is what Cancer season is all about, is truly it is the root of like your entire astrological chart, or it really is aligned with that fourth house energy, which is the root and the foundation of your entire chart. So that's really what this Cancer energy represents. And it's just so much about just kind of nurturing yourself and really just building this solid foundation in the home, spending time with your family. It's like we've been doing all the things this year coming out of Gemini season. So much probably happened, such a busy energy. And now this is a time where we get to just like maybe go on some trips, enjoy some family vacations, and just, yeah, come home to ourselves.
That brought up the best memory for me of like, yeah, when school's out for summer, like I literally every day went from pajamas to swimsuit. Like, and that just gives such Cancer energy to me. Like, I was like,
Totally.
oh, I can just lay around in my pajamas until it's time to go in the pool or like time to go outside and play. And then like back to like shower pajamas again. Like it just that homey feeling of like you don't have anywhere to be, you don't have anything to do. I mean, maybe you had summer reading, but like that was definitely a Virgo season thing for me.
Yeah, last minute.
Last minute, I was like, oh gosh, these books I have to read. And, Cancer season was for that connection back into not really having to do much or like spending time with family and just really getting into that vibe. I love that memory that just brought up for me because I was like, oh yeah, that is so Cancer season, right? I know, I'm excited for this Cancer season. Obviously, like this year, Mark and I will have a baby during Cancer season too, which is so home focused. So we have a whole episode on Jupiter entering Cancer as well that happened earlier in June this month. And so you should check that out because that's a really big planetary movement that is very Cancer energy and really fun and very connected to the home and all these roots and things. So if you're enjoying this episode about understanding this season, you're going to love that one because it's going to help you deepen into it even more. And we have this transit for about 14 months. So it's a really cool time to ground into this. But thinking of Cancer season energy, like we talked about, we're moving out of Gemini season. It's a totally different vibe because this is the first set of seasons, Aries, Taurus, Gemini. So we go from cardinal to fixed to mutable energy back to cardinal energy. So Cancer brings us that cardinal energy that we all know and love, and it's starting a whole new season. I personally love it because it's starting an actual season, like Keely said, summer. So we did spring, now we're into summer, and we're starting a new cycle all over again. And thinking about like the change of this season, tell me how you feel about this, because I know you like Gemini season, and I do too, but I think Cancer season's a little bit more my speed.
Yeah, I think by this time, as we're recording this, it's before we get into Cancer season. And I just think that essence of just like summertime and coming home and building foundation, it's just kind of like like I said, like we've been doing all of the things. We've been out and about. We've been meeting a bunch of people. And now it's time to really nurture ourselves and really just taking a deeper look at, okay, great. We've gotten things started. We've, built some foundations from like a Taurus sense, like in more of this like earthy, very material sense, like really kind of maybe even taking a look at our values during that season, our self-worth. It's like, what are our own just needs, from like a resources level. Just kind of, it's a little bit of a different vibe. But then we moved into Gemini season, kind of put ourselves out there with that like newfound sense of like self-worth and like confident in our values from that Taurus season energy. But then, yeah, coming back into Cancer season, and it's almost like, okay, coming back into the home, coming back into the family, coming back to our roots, and really like looking at what do we need emotionally, because this is the first water sign of the zodiac. And so we're in this new astrological season. This is the first time now where we're really coming back into the body on an emotional level. And so yeah, for me, I'm just thinking at this point in time of the year, it's a time for us to really come back to our emotional needs specifically, right? Like Taurus is about like very different needs, like what are our financial needs? What are our, just like self needs? But like this is so emotionally rooted. It's so deeply connected to love too. When I think about Cancer, I think about the crab. That is the symbol of Cancer season. And when you think about the crab, the way that I really love to talk about this is it's like it's got that really tough exterior shell to protect what's so soft and sensitive on the inside. And that really is a way for us to move through this season, is like we're all here to be so deeply connected to our emotions, to our sensitivities, and what are we doing that supports us in feeling secure with that, right? Like when we go out into the world, what is that foundational shell that does keep us rooted, that does make us feel secure to still kind of be connected to our emotions, to not, run away from our emotions or to, detach from our emotions, but like, how can we really be connected to our emotions in a way that feels really safe and secure and solid? And like building a environment, maybe that's in your home or maybe it's not in your home, right? Maybe it's outside of the home somewhere, but like, where is your security? Where do you feel most secure to just be so fully connected to yourself? I mean, I'm even thinking it could even be a safe space, like some kind of therapy session, right? It's just like a way to be connected to yourself in a space that feels really safe, no matter where you find that safety in or outside of the home.
I love that. And I can't help but think, do you think Lana Del Rey's song Summertime, I don't know if that's the name of it, but like Summertime Sadness, do you think she wrote that about Cancer season?
Wait, I need to hear the song. I'm really bad with song names.
Oh, she just goes like, I've got that summertime sadness, like over and over again.
That's so Cancer, because in Cancer, like Cancers are so sensitive, and it's like this is just us connecting to our emotions. Summertime sadness. Yes, I love that.
So like she's definitely not talking about Leo.
Too. Like and then it goes into Leo season 2, which is just such like it's like I feel like Cancer is very much this like inward internal expression of love with like those closest to us, and Leo, it's like let's express outward love and like bring our love out into the world. And that's a good way too of thinking of Cancer, is like let's give ourselves love first. Let's really like nurture ourselves, nurture those who are closest to us in our life, and then we get to go out and give love to everyone else out in the world when it's Leo season.
I love that. It's so interesting. One of my best friends, her mom's a Cancer, and then she married a Cancer. And so she's like, it's just more love than you can ever imagine. And I find that that's where like Cancer can really show us so much about like giving that love to others. But like you just said, like I want to put like an exclamation mark on it, is like, but we have to give that love to ourselves so then we can give it to other people. And I think that's like a key takeaway for the whole season, is like, actually, what do I need right now? And Cancer's ruled by the moon. And so this is our deep emotional inner world. And so if we're not feeling emotionally fulfilled, or we're not paying attention to that part of ourselves, Cancer season is going to ask you to really show up and take a look and like, what have you been avoiding that you want to feel? Or like, where can you allow yourself to feel a little bit more? And even, I think it was like Stephen Forrest or Deborah Silverman, both of them talk about Cancer being the sign of like the bodybuilder, and like, you need to leave the shell that you're in to find a new shell as a crab, right? So like, there's just so much symbolism there. Like you need to be able to upgrade. Like once you've outgrown those walls, you need to be able to be brave and say, okay, I'm going to come out of this shell, find a new bigger shell to grow into. And that's really cool. And I think that that's like so special about Cancer season, is asking like, okay, you've done all this cool stuff in Gemini season. You really put yourself out there. Maybe you made new social connections. Maybe you were, that social butterfly that we talked about in the Gemini season episode. Now, like, where have you met your edges? what emotional needs need to be fulfilled and where do you need to allow yourself to expand, and how can you set yourself up for success in that way, especially from that emotional, intuitive, home-based place that Cancer just really is excellent at providing for us.
Yeah. Oh, I really love that too. Just that thought of like maybe we've been in one shell and maybe now we've grown so much. So it's like, where is there maybe some things in our life that are a bit outdated where it's like time for us to just expand? And I'm even thinking Jupiter and Cancer, hello, like we are in that expanding energy, and we're going to be in that all year with Jupiter and Cancer. This is such a big theme that is playing. And so I think that's something really big for us to play with during this Cancer season as well. But like, Jupiter and Cancer is expansion of the home, expansion of the family. It could be like, adding on to the home. Like we're really just focused on expansion in our home environment, but like in what ways we can really think about this, like on an emotional foundational level, like where are we needing to expand our own shell? And think about right now, what is your shell? Like, I think that would be such a good practice for all of us during this season, is really actually thinking, like if we're that soft, sensitive, like nurturing, loving individual who is giving ourselves so much love, who are giving those who are so closest to us love, what is our shell? What is that kind of protective, layer that we feel really supported by, right? And again, perhaps it's like maybe we've clung on to certain things out of like safety. Like again, I'm thinking of like the North Node in Pisces, like there's so much for us to surrender, to let go of control of things. So like perhaps we've like been holding on to certain like security blankets that we've had, but it's like maybe we can let go of certain security blankets, right? Like maybe there's certain things we've been leaning on a bit too hard to like protect us. There's just so many things going through my mind for myself that I'm like, ding, ding, ding. We've got these things that it's, think about like yourself as a little kid. You just hold on to that teddy bear and you never want to let it go. But then one day you finally let it go. And then it's like, no, I am secure. Like I can go out into the world as this version of me. And I don't need all those things that I thought I needed to like protect me. Right. If something's coming through you intuitively as I'm sharing this, like just think about it, because I'm having that moment for myself right now.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely time to like notice what's popping up in your own mind, because it's like maybe this is your sign to let go of something, or to say like, that's okay. I can always come back and that blanket's going to be there. And, but for now I can go out into the world. And I'm almost imagining that feeling of like, you're holding the teddy bear and like, it's always warm, right? Where you hold the teddy bear and then like you let it go and you're like, oh, it's kind of cold. Like this feels different. Like, oh, but I have two hands now. Like this is amazing. So there's so many different aspects of that, like that feeling that happens. But it's really interesting because like you can create your own inner safety. I think we can always create this own inner safety, but you have to like recognize, especially in Cancer season, like where has that been a clutch, right? Like where have you kept yourself like in the same place for too long? And especially with what you said about Jupiter being in Cancer for like a whole year, this is going to be like mega expansion. Like, those RVs that like they're kind of just streamlined and small, and then all of a sudden they pull into their spot and the walls open and like they pop up a tent and you're like, oh my gosh, this thing's like a whole house. It's kind of like that feeling, except it doesn't have to be an RV. It can be anything. But I always I'm like amazed. I'm like, oh, you have like a bed in there and a bathroom? Like, impressive. Okay. I'm like, not for me, but good for you. I'm more of a hotel girl myself, but I think it's pretty cool when you have one of those RVs like that. And it's like, even though you're going to upgrade in this season and any season you want to upgrade in, it's like, how can you also still be soft about this? Like, this isn't like a hard masculine season where we're like, we have to force, we have to go, we have to do. It's like kind of like a beautiful dance, like a beautiful expansive, or even like, have you ever seen that reel on the internet? And it's like, the key isn't to fight the motion or the movement, it's to go with it. And it's like a woman, it almost looks like a woman dancing in waves because the waves are moving. It's like kind of superimposed. It's very artistic, but it is like the waves, they move and they ebb and they flow. And Cancer's so connected to the water, so intuitive, that sometimes you have to ask yourself, am I letting the wave hit my ankles because it's not going to take me down? Am I jumping with the wave? I'm going to be with it. am I diving under the wave, to be like, okay, I'm committed, I'm going to go under the water now and get, so you don't get pummeled by the wave and wash up to shore, get sand in your hair. These are the questions and the things that we can ask ourselves as we soften into Cancer season, especially with this Jupiter expansion, that are begging to be answered right now. And I feel like now I'm thinking about myself too. I'm like, oh, what is this season going to ask of me too,
Yeah, it's interesting. Cancer, as you mentioned, is this cardinal energy. When we think about the cardinal signs, we're looking at Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. And these, if as a reminder, we have a whole episode on the energy of the cardinal signs. So we recommend going back and listening to that if you want to deepen into just kind of cardinal versus mutable versus fixed energy, because every sign has its own little flavor like that. But cardinal is it's about taking initiative. It's like that starting energy, like getting things started, getting things going. And when I think about Cancer, it's opposite of Capricorn. And Capricorn is that typical like CEO energy, very like leader, right? Like executive leadership. Well, opposite of that is Cancer. And in a way, Cancer too is very much a leadership energy, which is so interesting to think about, right? Because these two energies, yes, they are these energies to balance, right? It's like at the work and at the home, but it's like they're both leadership. They're both taking initiative, taking action in some way, shape, or form. And so with this Cancer energy, it's not necessarily about being only in your emotions. It's also like leading with heart. Like it is leading with love. And I think this Cancer leadership is like, where in our lives do we need to show up more in this like heart-led way? Like, again, this is about moving forward and taking initiative. And maybe that's in our home. Maybe that is with our family. Maybe that is with ourselves. But like, where are we needing to show more love? And where do we need to be more heart-led? And how can we take initiative and being more heart-led in our life?
Yeah, for sure. It's so interesting when you think about that Cancer Capricorn axis, because they are so different. And I think Cancer doesn't get as much of that leadership quality credit that
but it is like Cancer does really represent this like divine feminine energy, this like mother archetypal energy, which is that moon energy as well. And like, so when you think about it from that lens, like this is the power of the divine feminine, and then Capricorn really is the divine masculine energy. And so I don't know. Would you agree on that too? Because then I think about earth energy and water energy. Those are both, these yin energies. But I think when you think about the archetypal father and the mother, you really are looking at the father being that Capricorn energy and the mother being that Cancer energy.
And I think about like specifically your generation with Cancer South Node, Capricorn North Node, being that energy of all, doing that like divine feminine rising, like bringing all of it to the table, and when Keelie says like the divine masculine, like father Saturn, father Capricorn, it's because like it really is ruled by Saturn, and that is the archetype of the father. I mean, a lot of people say the sun is masculine. Yeah, of course, whatever. But like this axis really is strong. And so when we think about this time of year, it is, arching toward more of that divine feminine Cancerian mother archetype, which is so beautiful. And I think of that with your South Node in Cancer and like what you've described, like you're like, oh yeah, I just like did this thing around the house, and, like just comes very natural to you. You're like, oh yeah, I just handle that and I do this, and it's just like it's fun. It's like fun to see that in someone else. My North Node and South Node are different. They're in Aquarius and Leo, like just by a hot minute, compared to the generation right next to me. And so it's like, oh, that's so interesting to see. But yeah, it's like if we can embrace that archetype in the season even more and allow ourselves to soften, but allow ourselves to know we're still, just because we're soft doesn't mean that we're not in this like mega leadership quality. Pretty powerful stuff we're looking at here, like water ruled by the moon, cardinal. It's a big time, the summer solstice energy, which is like the peak light of the entire year. Super important portal day, as everyone says. I mean, basically everything's a portal day, but if you only pay attention to 4 throughout the year, it's the equinoxes and the solstices. Let me tell you, you heard it here first. people. Those are the really important days. And I also think about, just in general, another astrologer we both really like, Pam Gregory, she often says that cardinal signs, so Cancer, or Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, these times are on the world axis. So like, these are major times for not just individuals, but the world. And so when we look at this, these are important seasons for everybody, not just personal. So with these moments being super important in the year, the solstices and equinoxes, I always like to celebrate these days. Like if you do nothing else, you can just take a moment and say, oh, today on June 20th, the sun is entering Cancer and it is the summer solstice. Technically, it is the longest day of the year based on sunlight. Hopefully where you are that you have some sunlight and you can feel this. I mean, for a lot of people like in the northern hemisphere, like super far north, they've got sunlight from now until who knows when. It's so bright for them. They're really, honoring the sun here. But this is like a really cool time to celebrate life force energy. If you think of the peak of light, this is like peak ripeness beginning. I know a lot of people think summer has already begun because of their weather, and you can celebrate whatever you want, whenever you want, but just know that astrologically, this is the highest point of the sun in the sky. It's super cool. I like to do some things to honor the solstice every year. I do the same for the equinoxes and, winter, summer solstice, fall, and spring equinox, because I feel like these are really important days of the year just to acknowledge. They're potent and powerful times. Back in the day, like this is when our ancestors would have like celebrated major things. So one thing you can do, intentionally spend time in the sunlight, spend some time outside, be with that long day of light and like reflect on your life from the last year. I always like to think like, what was I doing last summer solstice? Chances are I was probably like laying in the grass, like having the same moment, but it's always nice to look back. And then something I've started to do is on solstices specifically is write myself a letter. And I'm talking to myself on the next solstice. So I'll be like writing a letter now, June 20th, to reflect in late December and say, okay, what's happened? What's going on? Not recounting what's happened, like dreams for the future, planting those seeds and hoping to see them reach peak maturity. And then if you really want to get deep, you can say, what prevented me from completing this too? You can kind of like preemptively see like, what would I be making an excuse about? But like, how excited will I be if I'm writing this letter to myself, telling myself all the cool stuff that have happened, really just embracing that heat and that ripeness of summer. And then finally, you can also do like something with fire or something with light. Or if you're not into fire, I know some of my friends are not. They have a lot of firefighters in their family. They're like not into burning things. You can write things that you're ready to release and you can burn it, or you can tear it up and you can bury it. And I feel like it's a great way to call in what you're calling in, honor the light, but then also let go of something.
What a powerful practice of like using the summer solstice and the winter solstice as just kind of these points in time to, one, for us to really dream forward of like where we're already heading. Again, like this energy, we've started the astrological new year. We're now 4 seasons in, and it's really taking a look like where has our energy been, right? Anytime we're working with astrology, I never feel like it's something we need to force to happen, but it's like something that's already existing in our world. When you're listening to this, if you are listening to it before the summer solstice, because we'll release this a few days before the sun enters Cancer, you can use the summer solstice, that specific date, to engage in this practice and to write a letter to your future self around maybe what you've achieved. Maybe you're speaking exactly to what you have achieved by the time of the winter solstice. And then like Nicole said, at the winter solstice, opening it up and letting it be another ritual for you to really just kind of celebrate yourself, celebrate any shifts that have happened too. It's like if we haven't achieved what we set out to achieve earlier, perhaps it's because we've realigned, we've moved on to a different path. Timelines have changed and shifted. Like so many things can always happen, but like just what a beautiful way for us to just celebrate just the journey that we are on. I really love that. So should we get into some of the key astrological dates?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've covered the first one, the biggest one, which is the sun entering Cancer. And so that is the summer solstice, and that just begins us on June 20th. And that's, what Keelie said, you're going to listen to this hopefully before that. it's a Friday. Call out from work. Do whatever you want to do. Plan the day. You've got the warning. You got the blessing now. And, enjoy that day and spend it doing whatever you want. Make it a long weekend. But our focus is going to naturally turn inward in Cancer season. That's what we've been talking about so far in this episode. We're going to seek comfort. We're going to seek security. And this is really a time to prioritize our emotional well-being. I'd also say tap into your intuition a little bit too, because Cancer is a very intuitive sign, as are all signs, but water signs especially just have that extra oomph, and we can tap into that even more at this time. And, connect with your loved ones. Like Keelie said, first day of summer vacation vibes. So soak it in and get ready to really just live it up this season in whatever way gives you the most comfort.
Yeah. And, if you are listening to this after Cancer season has started, just 5 days after the summer solstice, we have the new moon happening in Cancer at 4 degrees Cancer, to be specific. If you've listened to past episodes, then you know why we like to always share the degrees, because it's always just really powerful for you to look at your own chart and see if you have any planetary placements around the specific degrees of the new moons and full moons, because these are also monthly activations that we have, or a very specific part of you has been contracted in this specific month of this specific year to be activated in a really powerful way from a new moon perspective or a full moon perspective. So that being said, this new moon in Cancer, 4 degrees on June 25th, we know what new moons are: setting intentions, starting new beginnings. So again, this could be a really great time to also engage in that summer solstice practice. If you didn't catch the summer solstice for it, write a letter to yourself, to your future self on that day as well. But with this new moon energy, so much of this is just about setting an intention around bringing new beginnings into the home, into the family, into your own foundations and self-care routines. So perhaps you're really setting an intention that is going to support you emotionally, or maybe you're setting an intention in the home, or maybe you're setting an intention with your family or some self-love, right? Whatever you are feeling called. Again, this isn't something that you have to get up in your head about. I think sometimes we get so heady, or we're just like, what's my intention? Let me make it so goal-oriented. Actually, no, this is opposite of Capricorn. This is about the heart, right? Where is the heart really calling you to lead yourself over this next month? And from this really heart-led place, create an intention around that. Work with this moon energy for intentions. And what a powerful new moon in Cancer. The moon rules Cancer, you guys. This is such a powerful new moon. So really play with this energy. Be intentional with how you want to just really activate this energy in your own life and allow those seeds to be planted.
For sure. I love that. And I think of too, when I think of setting intentions for the new moon, especially in Cancer around the summer solstice, it's not for me about these super goal oriented things. It's to experience amazing joy and to recognize it in the moment. Something like that, really, really light and fun, but also powerful in its own way, to experience joy, but then also know when you're experiencing it. That's a gift, that's an intention to set. And that's one that I've actually set before, and I do it a couple times a year because I feel like it's a good reminder one. So with the new moon, the next day, Mercury, which is never far behind the sun, it enters Leo. So we've got this change, Mercury has already been in Cancer for quite some time, and now Leo is hey, communication and thought processes are going to take on a little bit more confidence. They're going to be expressive, maybe a bit dramatic too. All good things. But our ideas and our words may be delivered with a little bit more enthusiasm, and we might just have this desire to be seen and heard a little bit more, which I think pairs really well with this Cancer season, Jupiter and Cancer expansion we've been talking about. And this can be a really great time for telling stories, becoming more creatively expressed, especially through our language and how we're leading, and also in our showing up in our communication style.
Yeah. We've got 6 days where both the sun is in Cancer and Mercury is in Cancer. And then, as we know, Jupiter is also in Cancer. So, 6 days of Cancer season, we've got full blown where we are, speaking. And when we talk about Mercury and the sign that Mercury is in, that is how we are expressing ourselves, right? The sun energy, we're feeling really embodied in that energy. Like that's where so much of our energy, perhaps 70% of our energy, is really being influenced by the sun over the course of that month or that season. But from this like communicative, the way that we're kind of thinking and expressing, it's going to have that Leo energy. We've got some fire with some water. So maybe there's just some opportunity for us to balance the two energies. You know, is the water putting out the fire? Is the fire overpowering the water? Like, how are we kind of communicating? But as Nicole shared, Leo is the sign of expression. And so it is a time for us to be so deeply connected to our emotions, be attuned to our emotions, be emotionally intelligent about how we are feeling. And then perhaps from this heart-led place, really speaking out. You know, Leo seeks to be seen, seeks to be expressed. So over the course of Cancer season, other than those 6 days, the rest of Cancer season is so much about letting that side of you be expressed. So if you're feeling really driven to express some part of just your emotional story, you know, like Nicole said about like stories and stuff, if there's just something that you're feeling really called to express that like is just really big on your heart over this month, this would just be like, I think, a really great time too. Like even if you're in business or whatever, it's and you're just kind of, I don't know, I'm just thinking like the way that you are showing up, like it is so much about being in the heart. If you got air signs, you guys, that's when you get up in your head, you can be all whatever. But like when we're talking about this like fiery, passionate Leo energy and the way that we're communicating from this like heart, just intuitive, sensitive place, like think about that energy with like everything that you're just kind of doing, because that is really prominent energy.
Yeah, it's big authenticity energy. And, you know, if you listen to our episode about Saturn moving into Aries, also meeting up with Neptune for this whole summer, like this is critical, especially for those in business. Like this isn't the time to be like, oh, well, so-and-so said I need to post like X, Y, and Z. This is like, what do you know? What do you feel? What story are you looking to tell? And do it with the ultimate expression of your own heart. Chef's kiss. You're going to be so pleased.
Yeah, 100%. So moving on to July 4th, that is when Venus enters Gemini. So Venus in Gemini, it's going to bring a shift in love, relationships, and our values. And that energy is going to be really directed towards curiosity, communication, and socializing. So, you know, we've been in Gemini season. That's where Venus is moving into. So it's like some of those Gemini themes are still going to be really present through Venus. It's like, okay, we had all that Gemini energy we've been in, and perhaps it's almost like a little bit of like that aftermath energy where like Venus comes in, and again, Venus being about love, about relationships. So it's thinking too, okay, with Cancer energy, we are so focused on really nurturing ourselves, loving ourselves, being really heart-led. And at the same time too, Venus wants to connect. Venus wants to engage. Venus being in Gemini is still ready to just like kind of just, it's really valuing connection. There we go. It's really valuing connection. It's valuing really good conversation. It's really curious. It wants to get to know people. So this again would be a really complementary energy to just, you know, the way that you're showing others the love, and the way that you're even showing yourself love, right? Like if you love to just like be so engaged in your own curiosities and this playfulness, just with the way, you know, playful Leo, right? Like just this playfulness in the way that you want to learn about something. Like maybe you're really valuing education right now. Again, Venus equals values in the sign of Gemini. So everything that we've just been in Gemini season, really think about where are you feeling really drawn to kind of focus some of that energy, and whether it's connecting with others or whether it's really engaging and just some of your own fun curiosities and educational content, bring that in, let it exist.
Yeah, and don't be surprised at how this will show up for you because Venus has been hanging out really closely to Uranus for quite some time. So throughout the end of Gemini season and more, it's been in Taurus, and then on July 7th they meet up again in Gemini. So they have not been far apart, and Uranus really represents change, shocking things happening, surprising events, and not always bad. Like it can just be like, whoa, I would have never seen that coming. And I think for Venus, coming together with Venus is kind of funny. It's like, I had no idea you felt that way about me. That surprises me, or like, oh, I didn't know I'd be so interested in that, or like that was such a huge value of mine, so let it, take you a little bit by surprise and embrace that surprise when it happens. So July 7th, Uranus enters Gemini. We're going to have a full episode on this for you so that you can really dive into this energy, but this is like that preview for quite a few months. We're going to have this energy, and this is big. This is the last major planetary change that we'll experience in 2025 before all these planets end up in their place for the next many, many years. So that'll happen in early 2026. And so this is a significant change. When Uranus moves signs, we have had signs change for Neptune, for Saturn, and for Jupiter. We've had 2 eclipses and a very long retrograde period this year, you guys. So this is like, finally, okay, like we're wrapping this up with a bow. All these planets are now going to have their pilot season of, in their new signs, and we get to experience it this summer. And so, with Uranus moving into Gemini, this is a period of rapid advancement. We talked about this in our 2025 overall astrology episode, and this is like about communications and technology. I think I joked in that episode, like we're going to see a rise of telepathy when Uranus and Gemini come together, or when Uranus enters Gemini, and the people on TikTok love that. They were like, yes. And I was like, wow, we found our people. I love this. But this is a little glimpse of the energy. So what will it bring long term? This is about all these rapid advancements in how we communicate. What is the news going to look like? How are we going to be absorbing information? The rise of AI, we've already seen it, but what will the future look like? How are we shaping it? So this is just a little taste of it. Because then Uranus, of course, as many outer planets do, and we'll tell you a few of them, they retrograde. So they start to, go back into the sign they were before they move forward. So we're going to have rapid change and a temporary pause. So look out for this energy, see how it's showing up for you, and just realize this is just like a sample at Costco. We're going to get a little bit of it, and then it's up to you, when you buy the full-size product. But we're going to see a lot of things that could be considered unpredictable. I think if you're listening to those astrology girls and that you hang out in the astrological world, a lot of this stuff won't be as unpredictable as it is sold to us as, but it's really going to bring this freedom-oriented energy, especially around communication, learning, and travel. We can expect breakthroughs, sudden changes in our thinking and how we want to feel liberated from our own intellectual capabilities, like stimulation. How are we gathering information? How are we learning? How are we disseminating that information to others? And we're probably going to see more AI come on the scene. Like, how many of them are there? I don't know, but new technologies, unconventional ideas may take over. People might be like, this is a great idea. And you might be like, but is it? I don't know. And so we have that dissenting opinion. Aquarius, Pluto and Aquarius is going to give us that question mark in our mind as Uranus and Gemini just takes off with the technology forefront. So we're going to see a lot. We're going to see a lot happening with this transit, but it's coming regardless. So keep your wits about you and try to embrace the new.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys, there's a lot for us to explore there. So we highly recommend tuning into our Uranus and Gemini episode because as even Nicole was talking, there were so many things popping into my mind that I wanted to share. And I'm like, if I start, I'm going to go on like a 30-minute rant, and we're just going to save that for the next episode. So be sure to tune in to that when that comes out. And so next we've got the full moon in Capricorn happening on July 10th. This is at 18 degrees Capricorn. Again, check your chart for that. And what we can expect with the full moon is this always happens approximately like 2 weeks after the new moon happens. So it's like you really set those Cancer driven intentions to really, nurture some aspect of yourself, to really focus your energy towards some aspect of this like Cancerian energy, wherever you're really feeling called. But around the full moon, this is when we've got some opposition at play here between Capricorn and Cancer. Again, Capricorn being the complete opposite sign from Cancer of the zodiac. So there is this really big polarity that will be at play here around this time. And so it's going to be this, seesawing energy between our emotional needs, what Cancer has really been pulling us towards, and like the intention that we really set here. But also on the Capricorn end, we've got maybe some practical responsibilities coming in. Like, where are we feeling called to, be a bit more practical? And again, anytime we are working with this energy, it's never about being all the way on one end or the other. Like, it's not about being all in on Cancer and anything Capricorn. It's like we're here to balance all of these energies within ourselves, because we all have all of the signs, right? And so thinking about this seesawing energy, where is there an imbalance when it comes to your emotional needs versus maybe being a little bit more practical with responsibilities? Maybe it could even be like being in the home versus, the working environment. I think that when we get to Cancer season and Capricorn season as well, that these are the two seasons where home and work life like really come into play, and you really maybe start to feel where there is an imbalance. And so this is all about simply awareness, you guys. Around the full moon, don't fight what's coming up, but be so freaking aware of like what's being shown to you, because that's what the full moon does. It is at its biggest, absolute brightest up in the sky, and it is illuminating something for you to know. So really sit with that in awareness and allow yourself to just feel Cancer season, feel into what it would feel like to bring a bit more balance, so that both of these so that you kind of have this seesawing energy that feels balanced, right? If it's way on the Cancer side or way on the Capricorn side, way on the home side, way on the work side, like where does there need to be a little give and take here?
Totally. I love that perspective. And I love when Keelie covers the new and the full moons, because she just has such a great perspective on it. So if you're listening to this part and you think you love Keelie's descriptions, let us know, because I always do. I'm like, that was so good. Like, needed to hear that myself. And it's like, I think it's so interesting with the new and the full moon in Capricorn, and Cancer, is that it is right around that beginning of summertime when families are shifting into a new dynamic because their kids are home from school. And then also at the holidays, same thing. And so it's like, oh, I want to be present. So that home work-life balance just totally hits home for me so much, because those are the times of the year where you feel it the most. And it was so illuminating for me as well. So thank you. So this season is not complete without retrogrades. So we've got two different aspects of retrogrades we're going to talk about. First is Mercury is going to retrograde at the end of Cancer season, in Mercury and Leo, retrograding from July 18th through August 11th. So this is the second time Mercury is going retrograde this year, and it'll happen all in the sign of Leo. So no double signs, which is kind of nice. I feel like keeping it all in one sign just makes the energy easier to understand. And so, with Mercury going retrograde this month, it's a good idea to like double check yourself when it comes to contracts, big things, anywhere that you have to be traveling wise, just double check the times, double check the dates, double check the airports. Oh my gosh, could you imagine flying into the wrong airport during Mercury retrograde on your summer vacation? That would just be tragic. But some people will say to put a halt to major projects. I just say, hey, dot your I's, cross your T's, review things, make sure you're on top of it, and just be aware of like any, obvious mistakes, not so obvious mistakes, technology failures, technology woes, things like that. Communication might be a little bit stifled. And with things being in Leo, being extra dramatic and expressive, this may just be a time where people are feeling themselves a little bit more when it comes to communication. And so we just might need to take a little bit with a grain of salt, and also check ourselves too. Make sure we're not communicating a little bit too spicy when it comes to this. I'm just imagining Mark and I with like a new baby, and I'm like, wrong. And I'm like, whoops, okay, let me reel that in a little bit. So I'll be marking those dates in my personal calendar to pay attention to. Just a short little 25 day period we've got going on there.
Yeah, this is our second Mercury retrograde of the year. Mercury goes retrograde a few times every year. And a couple of things I was thinking about is one, I was like, oh crap, I'm traveling this Mercury retrograde. And I'm going to a wedding and I'm like, ooh, it's just interesting. People getting married during a Mercury retrograde, and it's a destination wedding. And I'm like, how many people are going to have travel issues, delayed flights or I don't know, transportation issues or, double and triple check that like all your reservations are good. Like I could just see reservation issues, especially too if you're booking stuff, right? Like if you've booked something during Mercury retrograde, that's when you would want to look into like, okay, let me just double triple check that like this went through, that like I didn't like misspell my name for my plane ticket. I don't know, something weird like that. It's just like make sure double triple check all of that stuff when it comes to transportation because Mercury rules transportation. So kind of be aware of that. But the other thing I was thinking too is, okay, so Mercury goes retrograde July 18th, so very end of Cancer season, which is great, but that means it's like pretty much retrograde the whole time we are in Leo season. And I was just feeling into this and I was like, oh, this is going to be a time where like everyone wants to like let their voice be heard. Everyone's going to want to like feel really seen and heard. And I could just like see people like having miscommunication issues because it's like, you're not hearing me. And the other person's like, well, you're not hearing me. And well, I don't feel seen. And well, I don't feel seen either. Like, I feel like that is totally going to be the dynamic where it's like me. Because I mean, honestly, like that is Leo energy. It's letting yourself be seen. It's letting yourself be center of the stage, be expressed. But at the same time, I could see how there's this like, but what about me? But what about me? But what about me? And like, we're going to have to really watch ourselves and understand it's not all about me and it's okay. We're all in this energy that we think it's all about me, but like, let's just tone it down. During Leo season, we can get pretty loud.
Right. And I'm just imagining with, Venus and Uranus and Gemini together that it's just going to be kind of like, oh, like we're really stimulated in a lot of different ways.
Overstimulated. Oof, yeah.
Gosh, like I would love to see an MTV series about this summer somewhere, because I feel like it's going to be extra and it's going to be really dramatic and like in an entertaining for TV type of way, but then also in your own life, just make sure, hey, if you're at the shore house with your 25 friends, you just keep an eye out on that shower schedule because it's gonna get wild. You're gonna have to figure out what's the barriers here and like people, the me season. It's going to be interesting. And so
yeah, well, I was thinking too. Remember Mars went retrograde during Leo too, and that was actually really awful.
It's almost like around the same degrees as well. So those same degree planets are just getting like a bunch.
Jupiter and Leo, and y'all, that was just not fun. Like there's a lot that I blame on Mars retrograding in Leo for that, and I'm like, I don't want that to be anything like, but we'll see.
Keelie's gonna get to the airport extra early for that flight. We just know it. She's
blows everything up. So I'm gonna be just watch out because my Jupiter probably is just gonna go overboard.
Definitely pack something in your carry-on. Like make sure you got all your outfits that you need. For that traveling period that you described, for sure. So Mercury goes retrograde, like we said, 3 times a year. It's not the end of the world, but we're just like piecing all the pieces together, thinking of like how this on a total swing could go to be a little bit dramatic, and it's kind of funny to think about. And so if you catch yourself from June or July 18th to like August 11th and you're like, oh, I see what's happening here, this gives you the one up. You can be like, I'm not going to engage in this right now. I'm just going to take a step back and be like, I know that this will all resolve by mid-August, and everyone will be like, ooh, I said that was a little rough. So we do also have some outer planets retrograding. We don't dive into this too deeply on the podcast because outer planets retrograde all the time, and they retrograde for almost like half the year. So, they're very slow moving planets, but because these are the big planetary changes that we've had this year, we do want to highlight them. And so we're in a Pluto retrograde already at this point in the season, and we will be for quite some time. I forget. It's like till September, maybe October. Pluto's retrograde. We talked about that last time. And Neptune retrogrades starting July 4th through December 10th, and it's moving from Aries to Pisces. So on 10/22, it'll make the shift from Aries into Pisces. This is a long retrograde. Don't worry about it too much, but this is kind of the beginning of the end of the pilot season of Neptune in Aries. So we're going to see that transition, and we're going to have the chance to comb over what we learned in that point of the year from March 30th until July 4th. And then it's going to start to make its slow turn back into Pisces for a hot minute. And then Saturn will join it in retrograde on July 13th through November 28th, also moving from Aries to Pisces again. And on 9/2, September 2nd, that is when Saturn will actually be in Pisces again. So this is another long retrograde in a time, also ending that pilot season for us of that Saturn in Aries. I think I called it in Gemini season. And in our Saturn and Aries episode is like the summer of Saturn. It's not necessarily the summer of love, but you know, it is a time that we're really in that energy. So keep in mind with all of these compounding energies this season, this is new stuff we've never lived through before. So just be prepared for whatever comes up. Take note of it because like we're entering that fully in 2026.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was kind of like the way that I think we talked about this year is it's almost this like you're climbing a mountain type of thing this year, right? Like the year started and then as we moved through the year, like all of these major planets started like shifting signs, which again is why 2025 is just like such an anomaly of a year. Like we've never lived through like a year like this. And, you know, we saw all these big shifts and planets all happening at the same time, some really big retrogrades all happening around the same time. And so now it's like, you know, we kind of hit the peak with all of the planets, like changing signs. And now we're kind of in that, I would kind of describe it as maybe like downhillness where they're now kind of moving out of these signs. And so, yeah, like as Nicole said, like Neptune and Saturn now start their kind of reverse motion out of the energy of Pisces and then, or out of the energy of Aries where it'll move back into Pisces. And so, yeah, by the end of this year, we'll kind of be back to, I don't want to say how the year started, but it's just going to be, I don't know. We're just going to have a minute to breathe or process. I think it's just a processing moment for us end of this year. Like energy goes back into Pisces and we get to process. But anyways, Cancer season officially ends July 22nd, you guys. So that is it. And then we move into Leo season, which like we said, we're going to be in Mercury Retrograde. Yay. So we will get into that in our Leo season episode. And the next thing we want to go into is talking about some intention setting for Cancer season. We like to just bring this in kind of last because it can just kind of give you something to really land on and perhaps even use to steer any of those like new moon and Cancer intentions that you are ready to set for yourself. So a couple of just intentions to reflect on or just questions that you can reflect on is, you know, how can you create a more nurturing and supportive environment for yourself and your loved ones this season? Going back to a little prompt I gave you earlier, thinking about just that crab energy, that shell energy that is protecting you. Like, what is that, right? And maybe in what way are you looking to upgrade your shell? So just thinking about how can you create a more nurturing and supportive environment, you know, again, really playing with that Jupiter and Cancer energy. In what ways are you really expanding? Are you really growing in this energy? Also, what emotional needs are you ready to prioritize for yourself? Where do you need to be more in touch or connected with your emotions? What's your relationship with your own emotions? What is your relationship with just feeling in your body or with your intuition or just letting other people in? Again, that Cancer crab energy has the shell to protect itself and, you know, potentially to keep anything out, right? So like, what are you keeping out and maybe where is there an opportunity to let more into your life? And kind of mentioned this, but kind of final question to reflect on. In what ways can you deepen your connection to your intuition and your own inner wisdom? Because Cancer is so deeply intuitive, you guys. So really just attuning to your sensitivities, to your emotional body, to your heart, and asking yourself, how can you deepen to the connection to your heart, to the connection to your intuition?
I love these reflections, and I love even more that they align so well with the cards that I pulled for Cancer season. Typically I only pull one card, but two came out, so, you know, we went with it. Rebecca Campbell, the Healing Waters Oracle, because, you know, we had to use the Water Oracle for Cancer season. It just made perfect sense. So the first card that came out was Into the Unknown, Underworld, Depth, Courage, Facing Your Fears. And I think this is such a beautiful imagery. So the woman is kind of just like plunging into this deep, unknown, dark hole of water. And, the description here is all about, talking about we have the Earth, while Earth is an Earth planet, we're made up of 71% water. So like that's crazy amounts of water on this planet. And it's saying, are you being called to face your fears and explore the unknown? Hello, Cancer, upgrading the shell, really expanding, challenging what you thought was possible. This is a card of courage, initiation, and depth. You might be being called to make a significant change in your life that you may be feeling scared about, or maybe going internally. The soul inquiry here is, how can you face your fears today? And I think that's such an interesting card for Cancer season. And we'll link the whole card below so that you can read the whole description and explore it on your own. But the second one that popped out, so related to this last thing you just said, it's water codes. And this one says, ancient wisdom, the intelligence is within you. And I think this is such a card about trusting your intuition. What do you know? How do you know? Like, if we only knew what our ancestors knew, and that, like, we are the ancestors of the future. Like, we have this knowledge within us. We've carried this lineage for who knows how long. It's just so much to learn and to understand. And, like, how much can we work with this watery, intuitive, emotion within us and within the planet to, like, uncover lost knowledge about ourselves and like this intelligence. So both of these are just beautiful cards for the season, and we hope you can anchor into those, the reflections, the summer solstice, and just really be with the energy of this beautiful, beautiful cardinal Cancer season.
Those cards are absolutely perfect. What just a solid representation of just the energy that we are going to be moving throughout Cancer season. So thank you guys so much for tuning in with us today. We hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. We invite you to share this episode with your astrology loving friends or family members. Reach out to us, tag us on Instagram, or connect with us on any of the social media platforms that we are on. We always love to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for being here, and we will see you guys next week.
Bye.